Whoa, what it do? It's your boy G. Taylor, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Alright, man. So, we back again. So, last time, we was talking about Jay-Z producer and Mr. Guru. And, we was talking about game staging. So, today, man, we gonna give a shout out to Mr. Leslie. Mr. Leslie is like a world class music producer, mixing engineer. He did stuff for Michael Jackson. He phenomenal guy, man. Y'all need to check him out, man. Mr. Leslie, man. So I'm gonna jump on into this so we can move fast. So now this is all for my new people, man. For all the people who professionals, y'all ain't gotta worry about this. This for all of my people who got studios at home, and y'all just not starting out. And when I was younger, man, I was bumping my head trying to figure this stuff out and running in circles. So I'm just trying to give y'all game, the ones who don't know, so y'all can just just be able to focus on your music and create good music, and ain't got to be bumping your head trying to figure all this stuff out. So let's jump into this. So a lot of people always wonder about their vocal chain, right? So once you get a vocal, right, and you getting ready to start adding plugins and mixing and all this other stuff, right, where do you start? So I'm gonna give y'all two examples. So if you got somebody who's singing, or they doing kind of rap singing, some people sing, some people rap, and then you got some people, they mix it together and they rap sing. So what we want to do? If we got somebody who's singing, what's the first thing we want to do? The first thing that I normally do, and once again, I learned this from Mr. Leslie, and I want to give him his props and give him a shout out. I always give people their credit. If you learn something from somebody or somebody teaches something, man, ain't nothing wrong with giving people their props, because all of us is here to help each other. So if I got somebody who's singing, the first thing I maybe want to do is hold up, we'll come back to this. The first thing I maybe want to do is, if they singing, is maybe, pull up auto tunes, right? Because they singing, right? And we kind of, whether if you going for the T-Pain effect, or whether if you just want to keep their voice natural, but you just want to tighten that vocal up so everything can land on key. Some of the biggest professionals use it. Chris Brown use it. Beyonce use it. Rihanna. These people can sing, but they still use auto tunes just to tighten it up. So ain't nothing wrong. Auto tunes is not cheating. Only thing it is just a tool to help tighten things up. All of this stuff ain't nothing but tools. There is no such thing as cheating. These are tools to be used for music. So get that in your head. So if you got somebody who's singing or rap singing, the first thing you probably would want to use is auto tunes, right? And you just come in and you set it. And one thing I love about Auto Tunes 8 is, look, they even got the classic mode. A lot of people say they really don't like the way how the new mode sound. I think both of them sound good, but you can always go back to classic mode. So on a vocal, I would use auto tunes if we're going to be doing some singing and some rap singing. Now, if you're just going to be doing rapping, then I would skip auto tunes. If you're going to rap, skip auto tunes. The next plug-in that I think we would want to do, so we didn't tune the vocal, right? So what's the next thing we probably want to do? The next thing we probably want to do is DS. Now, this is a de-esser that I really like, and it's from FabFilter, and I think they make some wonderful tools. And you just don't have to use the tools I'm using. Use what y'all comfortable with, because so many of these companies make some of the same plugins. They just look different, might have different controls, but they all do the same thing. I just so happen to like this one. So basically, the only thing it's doing is, when you play music, see, only thing it's doing is just going to cut those S's and cut those and all those kind of sounds or whatever. So we want to DS. The next plugin, or the next thing we probably want to use, this is what I call a surgical EQ. And what I mean by surgical, it don't look like vintage hardware. You know what I'm saying? It's made for you to surgically make decisions. That's why I call it a surgical EQ, because you can get real precise. And only thing I'm doing is rolling off some of that low energy that the human ear can't even hear. But you know, it'll make your track go into the red when you got like 30 and 40 and 50 tracks and you don't cut off that low energy, that low rumble. It's gonna build up and it'll push your track over into the red. So you want to clean that stuff out of there. And then I just went in and I just kind of scanned around and I found like the mud, I found like the boxiness, I found like the nasiness, and I just cleaned. I know that sounds kind of fucking weird, but I'm just trying to tell y'all. Anyway, I cleaned all that stuff up out of there, and then I just gave it a little air on the top end. So I'm just using a surgical EQ, you know what I'm saying? So once I go in and kind of get all of that stuff out of there, what's the next thing I want to use? Well, then I'm going to come back with a compressor. And the only thing I want to do with the compressor, I'm not compressing too hard. I'm doing like a 4-to-1 ratio. And the attack is not that fast. I'm not attacking it fast. I'm like attacking it slowly, and then I'm releasing it fast, so it won't hold on to it so long. And only thing that compressor gonna do is just take those tall peaks, those tall vocals, and just bring them down and even them up with the lower vocals, so everything can just sound smooth and it won't be sound like you getting loud, getting low, getting loud, getting low. So you know. And if you want to, you can swap these around. You can use the EQ first and then compress, or you can use the compressor first, then the EQ. It's just whatever sound better to you. So after that, what's the next thing we're going to do? Well, me, myself, I like to add some type of saturation. So this is another plugin from FabFilter. As y'all can tell, I really like this company. They make some great plugins. You know, I'm just using something called warm tape. So it's just adding some saturation to the vocal. After that, the next thing I normally use, this is like a deep breather. And the only thing it do, know like when some people be rapping and they be like, they say something, they say something. You know, sometimes you don't want that stuff in there. Now, this plugin can either take it completely out or it can just turn it down some, depending on how the person rapping. Sometimes you want to let that stuff stay in there, but just barely turn it down so you could barely hear it. Or sometimes you want to take it out completely. So when y'all see it, and when y'all see them yellow lines dipping, it's taking the breath out. But what I'm doing is I'm not taking it completely out. I got it sideways. It's just turning it down so you could barely hear it. Because sometimes if you take those breaths out, it'll make the rapper sound robotic and not natural. So you just want to do that to taste. All right, y'all, we just about almost done with this, man. I just, really was trying to help y'all out, man. Because like I said, I was bumping my head with this stuff. And the last plugin that I would use is, Vocal Rider. And this is from Waves. I love Waves. I know some people hate Waves, but to me, any studio you go in, from a home studio to a professional studio, Waves is going to be in there. So I would just use Vocal Rider just to ride the track. If the track get too high, it'll bring it down. If the track get too low, it'll bring it up. Back in the old days, they used to do it by hand. God bless their soul. And then those are basically the plugins that I would use. And then, say for instance, if I needed to use another de-esser, I would use a second de-esser. If I needed another EQ, any of these tools, you can double them up and use a second one if you needed to. And that's all it is, y'all. No gimmicks, no tricks. That's all it is. So I hope this really helped y'all out. And like I say, you don't have to use the plugins I use. Feel free to check all of these companies out, because all of these companies make the same plugins, but they just make it in their way. They look different, might sound a little different, but basically, a de-esser or a de-esser are going to do the same thing. The compressor going to do the same thing. The EQ going to do the same thing. So you want to break it down into your surgical tools. You want to break it down into your analog tools. And the only other thing that I would do is maybe throw a reverb on there and maybe a doubling, a doubling plug-in, a double effect, and a reverb. And that's about it. So I hope this helped y'all out. As always, this your boy G. Taylor. God bless y'all. And I'm going to come back and hit y'all with another video. And we're going to have a little fun on the next video. You know what I'm saying? So God bless y'all and y'all be good. Your boy G. Taylor 1.